my radio show, A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer every Monday from 11 a.m. till noon on Houston's gospel leader, KWWJ. 1360 AM and streaming live on kwwj.org. Listen on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and streaming live on kyokradio.org. KCOH 1380 AM on Send Geek Radio 95.1 FM 1460 AM and Aliento Radio 101.7 FM and 1540 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston, it's Gilbert Garcia with another tip from me. Talk, inspiration, and prayer. And let me just say that I'm really excited about this particular episode because there's a young man here, and I say young because I don't know, it just seems like time is flying on me. Or maybe it's because he has all his hair and he's handsome. But at the end of the day, we have Councilman Mario Castillo. And Councilman, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, listen.
I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. You know, I always enjoy, because everybody knows I ran for mayor. I really enjoy seeing you on the campaign trail because you were such a gentleman to your other opponents, and you always stayed above the fray. And so I think it was great that it turned out and that you won. So let me tell you this. So you've been a councilman now how long?
A year and about a month and a half.
And does it seem like 10 years or does it feel like overnight? I mean, is it like it went fast or is it like, oh, I'm overwhelmed? And what's it like?
You know, after winning, you get a month before inauguration.
Yep.
And you're meeting with folks, you're having conversations, interviewing staff. And the consistent piece of feedback I got was, it's going to go quick.
Yeah.
Focus on your priorities. Don't get pulled down into things that don't matter because it's going to go fast. And it's gone faster than I even expected.
No kid. It's kind of like this. So I've been married 26 years. Let me think. Hold on, honey. If you're listening, maybe it's 27, but you know what I mean. No, in reality, it's 26 years. And we will talk to people. People will say, so you've been married 26 years. What's it like? And I always say, boy, it seems like yesterday. And my wife says, well, it seems like 26 years. And I don't know what that means, but it means something. And so I think the key is when you love something, and this is no reflection on my wife's love for me, of course. Right, honey? But no, when you really love something, time flies.
It flies.
And so that means that you're really enjoying yourself. That's what that means. And that you're really loving what you're doing. So I think that's wonderful. So let me ask you this. Now, you grew up in the district. You are a district council person.
Yep.
Just tell all of our listeners again, what's the main difference between a district and an at-large from a, I don't know, constituent service or focus? What's the difference in your mind?
Sure. I mean, there's a big difference, right? I have specific neighborhoods that make up District H. I represent District H. So a little bit of downtown, the near north side, Independence Heights, Second Ward, Denver Harbor, Garden Oaks, Shepherd Park. It's a big district, but I represent those communities on city council. So I'm their primary advocate. Mm-hmm. I'm their voice for those when they're dealing with solid waste issues, mm-hmm. when they're advocating for a drainage project or sidewalks to get put in. I'm fighting for them on city council. Now, at-large council members, they're elected by the whole city. And so they don't necessarily have a boundary that mm-hmm. they're fighting for. They're fighting for the city at large. So they're thinking about the budget. They're thinking about transportation as a whole. They're thinking about our city and our city's global issues, mm-hmm. Not necessarily specific neighborhood issues. And they can help us fight for our neighborhoods. But when a constituent reaches out, they're reaching out to their district council member who's doing the legwork on the constituent services.
I like what you said. You're their advocate. Mm-hmm. That's really just it came to you like this, which means that's your mentality. I think it's beautiful because that just means that, you're there to serve them.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. Well, let me ask you something. So you grew up in the district.
Yes.
And has the district in your mind over the years, has it changed? Is it growing? Is it not growing? And I'm going to get into what are the main issues of the district. But
sure.
Has it grown much since you were a young person?
It's gone through some pretty significant changes. It's got historic neighborhoods that have been around from almost the beginning of Houston.
No kidding.
First Ward, Sixth Ward. Those are key parts of District H and core of the city's growth from when it was built. We've got historic neighborhoods like Second Ward, the near north side, and those areas have started to see, from when they were Eastern European and European immigrant communities to now Latino communities, and now we're seeing growth and development there. But these are historic parts of the city. And so one of the things that really pushed me to run was looking at what other districts were doing and what other districts were getting in terms of programs, services, resources, and not seeing those things come to District H. And being from the community, having family that's been there for a long, my grandpa came over to the United States, started his own real estate company.
No kidding.
Castillo's Realty. It was on Hogan and near Fulton for 43 years. He had his own real estate company. And his primary goal was to help his friends, people that looked like Tim, become homeowners because they were mostly renters. And he got, a mentor early on that showed him the path to making sure your family is secure and better off is to owning a home.
Yeah, it's a way to create wealth.
Yes.
As well as being a business person. Hold that thought. We already have a caller. Is that Mr. Dominic? Dominic, is that you?
Yes, Gil. Yes, Mario. This is Dominic. This is Mr. Metro.
Hey, Dominic.
And yes, I did drive Metro.
Mr. Metro, all I want to know is this. Do you just love Metro?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm getting to a point where I can't drive, and I've been working with Metro even before Metro got started. So, yes, I do love Metro.
Well, I can say firsthand, everybody knows I was chairman of Metro, that you were one of the founding persons, men and female, that was in the room when it happened, just like Hamilton, when they put together the whole Metro back in, I think it was 1978. You were one of those guys. There's a picture of you when you were quite the young man, going through all the plans and everything else. Have you seen that picture?
Oh, yeah, I have a copy of it.
Yeah, that's priceless. What do you got for our councilman today?
Okay, number one, and I'm going to talk about number one. Mario, you spent some of your piggyback money that each council person gets for a police presence.
Yep.
And I know that you've been working with the new Chief TN, which I almost text him every day about if I see a problem. He's on it. He's on it. And Northline, the transit center there's no merchants or trainers or anything. Both of y'all with HPD has done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
But one place on the red line, and I'm going to bring this up, is it passes Moody Park, and there's actually a station at Moody Park.
Yep.
And this brings up something you voted against, and I agree 100%. You voted against $8 million for a park that already is the darling of the city. And I think you voted against it. I'm looking at Moody Park, where it is. It's on the red line. It's located near a place where Houston has low-cost housing for people. If near Northside Fulton, those stores could come back, that would be a wonderful thing to happen. And with Moody Park, you got transit access. You don't have to drive there.
Right.
And so this gets to the point. I think these turds need to be examined. I think some of these projects that they're doing are unconstitutional by state constitution. Because the city of Houston, unless it's something like the firefighters union, that's on a federal level. But on the state level, a city or any other state entity cannot borrow money unless it's for a courthouse, unless you have a vote of the people. And the turds are getting loans and everything else. And if those loans go bad, if that church goes bad, the city has to pay for it.
That's right.
And I think this whole thing, really, with the budget coming up, I think the city council needs to put a quadratus on the church. Nothing new. You can pay off what you got now until we get a settled budget. Another thing, too, again, this rich area can get a nice park, but, we got Moody Park. I got Northline Park 2 blocks from me. So that gives you some idea where I live. I think these turds need to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb, and maybe it needs to be that we need to start. They need to pay off what debts they have, what projects they have, and start to sunset them. I think, or if they're going to do a major project, let's say the Shepherd Durham project, the project in Montrose, That's the city streets are our thing. You know, it's that sign on the city hall. The people are the city. You know, I bring that up every time I'm at city council meeting. And I think with these churches, if they're going to be major projects on thoroughfares that they're putting in infrastructure, I think we as the citizens have the right to vote on it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and Dominic. I'm going to cut you off only because I want to pack that into a question.
Sure.
And so what I'm going to say to the councilman on your behalf here, Dominic, is, and everybody knows that I had on my pledge to Houston, no more TERSs. I wouldn't do another one, right? If I had been mayor. And I'm not a fan of them at all because I think it circumvents the people. And I get that there's a way that they go faster. Mm-hmm. And since they exist, how do you use that revenue stream and partner with it for districts? But I think the question you really have, Dominic, is, Councilman, what are your thoughts on TERSs? I think that's really what the question is.
Go
for it.
It's a great question because there's a lot of talk and debate about TERSs, and there should be. They're public entities, and they utilize tax money.
Yep.
I've served on a TERS board, the Hardy Near North Side TERS 21. I see how they can help parts of the city that are slow to grow or that need significant investment for infrastructure, for safety, that the city is going to get to at a much later point.
Right.
And they can help get that investment in quicker, right? Mm-hmm. The system is not perfect. You know, we have some TERSs that have grown and exploded in growth, and they've done everything under the sun they can for that boundary.
And they still get money coming in.
And they still have money coming in. But then we have others that are struggling to take in increments, struggling to invest. And so one idea I would like to explore, I don't think we should get rid of all TERSs, but we have a fund that TERSs pay into, an affordable housing fund that is used citywide to help get affordable housing throughout the city of Houston. I would like to do a parks fund, do a solid waste fund, do a public safety fund where we can take 1% of those increments and then use it to help city services citywide, because we know we don't have enough money to fund our parks adequately. And what we're doing really is a maintenance of parks, and we're not even doing that at a higher level. So if we want to get Moody Park where it should be, or if we want to get Clark Park or Northline Park or some of the other parks in my district that are really struggling, let's utilize some of that TERS money that's bucketed for Levy Park, right? The argument was, well, by law, we can't spend that outside of this zone. But through that affordable housing fund that they pay into, they can.
Very good.
And so if we can do that for solid waste, where we know we need to invest more in, and if we can do that for public safety and for parks, think about how we can impact some of these other areas of the city.
Now, these parks, when you're talking about, I don't remember the word choice you said, but what you mean, I guess, is they're not kept up.
Right.
Okay. Meaning the grass is not cut, or the trees limbs are on the ground.
Equipment is in rough shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dominic, I'm going to give you another. You got any other question there before we sign off? We got a couple of callers coming in.
One other thing too. I think the TERSs are showing us something. I think the strong mayor system that we have, it was designed before 1860. I think it's 1856 the charter came into being. Strong man might have worked in a small southern city back in those days, but I think we need to really look at the city charter, which is our constitution, and maybe instead of a strong mayor, and Houston's so big, maybe we need to start thinking of bringing city services down to the letter districts. I think that is something y'all need to look at. Maybe that's something be part of Prop 8 committee. With that, I had no comments. I'm going to send it back to you two gentlemen.
Well, Dominic, thank you as always. I know we have another caller. Before we go to that caller, the other thing you mentioned was the whole thing, because your dad was a realtor.
Grandpa,
excuse me. I apologize. Your grandpa was a realtor, and the concept of creating wealth and home ownership. One of the things that I saw as running for mayor was the lack of affordable housing. Is that what you're seeing in your district?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I have my views, and I'm going to give mine in a moment, but I'm just a citizen. Your views are you're at the table. How bad is it really?
We're seeing,
I think it's terrible, but you go.
You know, the housing market overall has sort of stalled out, right? With the inflation we're seeing, with the new national sort of metrics that we're seeing on tariffs and whatnot.
Right.
It's impacting the housing market. So we had a kind of spike in prices, and they've sort of stagnated. buying and selling. But we're still seeing affordability being an issue across the board. And so people in the near north side, right, like things like the Houston Land Bank used to develop affordable housing there. Those lots are now so expensive.
Yep.
They're having to go into North Line or in other parts of the district.
Further
out. Because the land isn't as expensive. And so you're getting further away from the city, right? But in areas like Independence Heights, you know, we had a project that almost got stalled because they were going to switch developers, the housing authority, at the last second. And so we had to get the community together, go to the meeting. We ended up working that out. But they rallied behind that project because they need that project. They're getting priced out of Independence Heights, which is a historic Black community that families have been in for generations, and they want to stay there.
Right.
And that could give them the opportunity too. So for me, it's what can I do as your district council member to get diverse housing options throughout our neighborhoods? Because that gives you more price points and that gives you more affordability. If it's just townhomes, you know how much those are going to cost.
Right.
But if you get some senior housing, if you get some quadplexes, some duplexes, some AUDs, accessory dwelling units, so that if you're older, you can live in the AUD and you can rent out your main home and maintain your living. But those diverse options give people diverse price points. And it's not just one housing stock type that's going to fix the problem.
Well, let me tell you this. So when I ran for mayor, I dabbled with affordable housing, and I built a couple of units primarily to see what it was like. And there's no doubt. Are you ready for this? I built a couple of homes in City Gas.
Okay.
And a affordable home is defined as $250,000 to $300,000. And I thought to myself, who the heck can afford that?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. That's affordable housing as defined by, you know, all the demographics here in the city. But what's really difficult, number one, rates are high. They're very, very high. But away from rates, you know, the other problem is taxes keep going up, utilities keep going up, and insurance keeps going up.
Yeah.
So it's all the other stuff. But one of the things, my biggest, I don't know the right word, pet peeve, I guess what they call it, or my biggest gripe is it took me a year to get a permit.
I was just going to ask you what your permitting experience was like.
It was horrible, horrible. And so I thought to myself, you know, if I were mayor, and of course, everyone knows I had a pledge to Houston with all the things I was going to do. I remember, I'm a business guy. I see the permitting process as a money generator.
It should be.
It should be, but I don't think the powers that be have seen it that way. They see it, oh, it's just another place. No, it should be a money generator because that's where the bottleneck is. And maybe there's a way, and I know some people don't agree, but at the end of the day, one thought I had was have more price points for permitting. If you want to have a rush job, make it expensive. And at the end of the day, that extra cost will subsidize other people's cost. And at the end of the day, you want that property on the tax rolls.
You do.
You do. So my view is, what can you do or we do for affordable housing? Or what do you see going on in the permitting? I mean, have you had other people say this?
I've heard it from housing. I've heard it from engineering.
It's horrible.
I've heard it from, and not even developers. I've heard it from residents who just want to remodel their house, and they're planning on a 6-month remodel, and then it turns into 9 and 12 months, and they're extending a short-term lease because the work's not, and it's just a ton of money. I think your idea about the expedited permitting process makes a lot of sense because these companies are losing money. Individuals are losing money. And they'd be willing to pay $5,000 if we guaranteed their permits would be turned around in 2 weeks, because it would save them $25,000.
That's right.
And so that cost,
or more.
But
keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And we would benefit from that.
That's correct.
Not only that, but if Centerpoint, which they deal with a lot of permitting, right? Some of these entities out there, they deal with permitting all the time. Comcast, AT&T, they would probably pay to have a dedicated permit reviewer because they know they're going to be doing permits all day, every day. And imagine what that would generate from the city of Houston if we had someone paying $75,000 a year to have someone dedicated to reviewing their permits.
And my whole thing was, we need those properties because people need to live in them. We need them on the tax rolls. We need it for the neighborhood because more neighbors, so they all take care of each other all the way around. And if you had it expedited and you cost more, well, number one, then you could hire more people. And then you have the whole bottleneck starts to open it up. And then you can subsidize others.
Yeah. And we don't pay our folks enough, right? And that's because we're obviously dealing with budget issues.
Right.
But if we had that increased dedicated funding from expedited permitting services, we could pay our folks adequate wages so they stay.
Yep.
They don't go off to different places after a year or two, which we see a lot of. And so then we're constantly having to have that turnover, which further delays the training, the onboarding, the reviewing. Yep. And so I get it. You know, when the pandemic happened, everything switched to online. One Stop was very popular where you could go take your permits in, have a conversation. That's coming back.
Oh, good.
And so people want that face-to-face because you can actually talk through, okay, this keeps getting kicked back. What can we do to make this work? You know, have that conversation as opposed to just always doing that.
I mean, people still want a human being, right?
Yeah.
I mean, forget this AI stuff. And, you know, people want a human being to really help with what's going on with their issues.
And when it's something like plans and designs, you need to have that ability to have a conversation with someone at some point, and that's coming back. And I know that's gonna help. That's
great. Hold that thought, because I do want to come back to this whole thing about your district funding source, the $1 million that's set aside. I want to come back to that, but we have another caller. Who's that caller? Was it Brother Chris? Brother Chris, is that you?
This is I.
Brother Chris, this is Gilbert Garcia. I owe you an apology because I know you reached out to me and don't think I forgot about you. But right now you're talking to all of Houston, and you've got right now Councilman Mario Castillo of District H. What do you got for him?
All right, Mario. Well, you know, some things I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, but I'm always tell you the truth.
All right.
I got some kind of tough love. I live in District H, Mario.
Ah.
Real careful. Okay, and I'm just being totally honest with y'all. Yep. We got to have this conversation.
Yep.
You know, you got a section of District H, you know, that you kind of forgot about here. You got, you know, District H just don't consist of people in Heights. You got some black folks in District H too. You know,
what neighborhood do you live in?
Okay, you are familiar with the 100 and Place subdivision. It's kind of like even when you ran, you didn't campaign that area, but some of these people still voted for you. It's okay. I heard you guys talking about the parks earlier. I understand you just got there. Well, we got a park with Johnson Park, the Patchen Milton Park on Johnson Drive. They've been trying to get some upgrades to that park for years, even before you got there. Your predecessor, it fell on deaf ears in her because she always had excuses. Like I say, these people over here, they do vote. They also pay taxes. I heard you mention about Independent Heights, but the whole while you were talking, nobody mentioned 100 in Place. It's also part of District H. Don't misunderstand. We're not going to put this all on you, but you are the elected official. Yep. You do work for us as well, for the people, by the people, of the people. And we hold our elected officials accountable no matter who they are.
Well, Chris, let me ask you this. What's the big issue right now in Huntington Place? Let's tell the council member.
Glad you asked. The big issue right now, you got a lot of stray dogs and cats. It's walking all the neighborhood. You also have the issues with the ditch. You know, it rain, you got ditches in the neighborhood, and it floods, and they come clean the ditches out because we about to go into hurricane season. The water sits there, draw mosquitoes, waste now, all that. Okay, and nothing against Mario. I have never seen Mario or anybody from staff come to this neighborhood since y'all been elected. But y'all come around, y'all didn't come during campaign time. I say, okay, well, do they really care? They say, well, these folks here, they may not know to really vote. But these folks over, they also organize and vote as well. So when you talk about independence, you got to talk about as much as you can about District 8, not just Fourth Ward and Hogan and Fulton, where you grew up at. We over here, the Johnson Drive, Hardy Street, Jim Kelly Street area as well. That's also part of District 8, okay?
Well, hold on, Brother Chris. Hang on one second. I'm going to unpack some of this real quick. So I think the question is, Councilman, you know, what can we do about stray dogs, and what can we do about these open ditches?
It's a good question.
I know there's probably I know it takes a lot of money. That's a simple answer. This and that, but you know, what are your thoughts on all that?
You know, I'm not sure if you and I had a conversation when I was running, but I did block walk my entire district, right? Mm-hmm. Including the East Tex Jensen area and over near the dogs are bad. Mm-hmm. In some of those neighborhoods. You saw them
yourself as you were walking around?
You couldn't walk.
No kidding.
Because you'd come on a street with a pack of dogs.
No kidding.
Not just one or two, 4 or 5. And you're not going to walk down that street.
Right.
So you end up just driving house to house when you got to talk to folks. It's been a big priority for me because I've actually had 4 serious dog attacks in my district while I've been in office.
Now, not to you. You mean a citizen?
Citizen.
Wow.
4. And 1 death.
3 months ago. One of them on United States Post America just 4 months ago.
Is that the one you're talking about, Councilman?
Well, that's one of the 4.
Yeah.
But then there was also a woman who was killed
No.
by dogs recently this year.
I'm just horrified.
It's a safety issue. It's a quality of life issue. It's a big issue. So District H historically has done something called Love Your Pet Month. I kept that initiative when I came in because I saw it firsthand when I was campaigning. And I know that there's no progress that's going to be made that needs to be paused and stopped if we're going to make any real movement on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep what we've built going. And so I kept that initiative. In February, we did 14 or so events throughout the district on responsible pet ownership.
Go ahead, Brother Chris. You go.
Stray animals, how can you love them? They're stray animals. You talking about love your pet? Hell, those are stray dogs. And why don't the dog catchers, catch the stray dog? Everybody can love it.
Well, hold on, Brother Chris. Hold on.
When you was campaigning. So can you imagine kids go inside and play and senior citizens can't take their walks in the afternoon? Everybody don't love their pets. Everybody don't have pets, but they love their kids. Those are not people. Those are stray dogs. They want nobody's pets.
Yeah, hold on a real second there, Brother Chris. So let me ask you a silly question. And this goes to show you how much I know.
Yeah.
Are there still old-fashioned dog catchers that go around and pick up dogs?
We have animal control officers, but we don't have nearly enough. I mean, we don't have nearly
And
enough.
that's the old stereotype when you're growing up as a kid where they say the dog catcher.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
are they authorized? And Brother Chris, you may know, but are they authorized with a net? They see a dog, to get them and put them in the.
We have so few that they will only respond if there is someone that's calling in saying a dog bit me or there's a dangerous dog loose that's attacking other dogs or causing some issues, because we don't have enough animal control officers.
Wow.
Yes.
My goodness.
When I say it's a big problem, I say that there are so many components to this. It's spay neuter, it's educating kids, it's enforcement, it's funding our local animal control at a level that allows them to even take in more dogs, because the shelters are full, full. So they're not going to be out there catching animals unless those animals are safety risks, because there's nowhere to put them.
Mario, let me answer this question. You just said you had 4 deaths of dogs cause somebody death. That's the same way you had a criminal out here killing people. You don't make that top priority. If you got a dog that's attacking and killing, causing death, that should be number 1 priority.
Yeah.
That's the same way you have somebody that committing a crime, killing somebody. That should be your number 1 priority. Safety.
Yeah.
It is.
Come
And
on,
that's why we have animal control officers who are responding to safety issues. Safety issues.
People out their lives.
Yeah. Well, Brother Chris, I've got other callers, but listen, Brother Chris, I think you made some great points.
I'm a reservoir. I'm also an organized in our community. I'm remember this.
Yes.
I'm just telling you that. You just don't give our votes away. We might hold our elected officials accountable, including you.
You should.
He's going to do it.
You should.
Brother Chris, thank you, man, as always. I think, Brother Chris, I can feel his look. He's called in the past. He loves his city and he cares about the community. I think what he's trying to say is they need help.
No, they do.
And already. Wow. I can't even imagine hearing that someone was actually bitten and killed.
Yeah. It's very, very sad.
It's terrible.
And this is a district-wide, and the animal control issue is a district-wide issue. And here's another layer to the problem. The city has BARC. The county has Harris County Animal Control. Harris County Animal Control is up near Melrose Park, which is the northern boundary of District H.
Okay.
So if you live nearby and you want to take your animal to surrender, they're going to say, well, do you live in the county or do you live in the city of Houston? I live in the city of Houston. Well, you need to go to BARC. And so a lot of times those folks will just leave their dog at the park because they're not going to drive all the way to BARC.
That's terrible.
They went to the county shelter. There's no cooperation on that level, and it's creating an unnecessary burden, right?
That's terrible.
So now Melrose Park has a big dog problem, and vice versa. If you go to the Bark shelter and you live in the county, they're not gonna take your dog. So we need the city and the county to just say, hey, we need to come together on this, because those lines don't mean anything to the animals.
Right.
The animals are going to have the issue no matter
who's
what.
your commissioner of your county commissioner that you're in?
So I'm in Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Ellis, but both of them. We need to think about this from a county level. Let's just create one entity. Could be Harris County Animal Control, have the city and the county have folks on board. But this whole notion that we're going to solve it in the city of Houston, but not in unincorporated Harris County, and the problem's going to go away, that's not going to work.
I can see it already. I can see the finger pointing. No, that's you. That's
Right.
you. I totally get it. We have another caller already, Councilman. Is there a Connie on the line?
Yes. Hi, Gilbert. Hi, Councilmember Castillo.
Hi.
Thank you so much for all you do. Really appreciate everything you're doing for the community here in Houston. I just have a question. The rising cost of housing is very real here in the city. And I just wanted to know what steps are being taken to improve affordable housing in District H.
Well, we appreciate that call. I think we talked a little bit about that, but now that she's sort of asked the question head on, what do you think, Councilman?
I mean, I think this is something that a lot of folks are really interested in.
And it's the whole city. It's not your district. It's everything.
It's all across the board.
All over America, frankly.
You know, I can tell you from my perspective, from the District H perspective, I've building good relationships with the Housing Authority to make sure that the projects that they have coming online in District H see those through. Working with other entities like the Houston Land Bank, which builds single family affordable housing throughout the city. I've had them at every town hall that I've done this year.
Oh, great.
So that they can give information directly to my constituents about how they can get involved in those programs. They're building some housing in the near north side on the old Yellow Cab lot in partnership with Harris County. I worked with Harris County to Commissioner Garcia purchase the last 10 acres in Hardy Yards, right by the Burnett rail station, right by downtown, to turn that into 500 affordable housing units.
Oh, how wonderful.
With a retail component that they're building out, 50,000 square foot for potentially a grocery store. That was going to be on the open market to be bought and sold by whoever wanted to buy it to turn it into whatever they wanted. But because the county came in, that's now going to be affordable housing. So
touche.
I'm always looking for opportunities to bring affordable housing into the district because I know it's so needed. We're looking at some bringing in senior affordable housing into Denver Harbor because they have told me time and time again that is what they want. But it's those opportunities. It's getting our permitting in order so that it's cheaper to build homes.
Right.
Because that impacts entities like the Land Bank.
Yep.
They're building those homes. So if the permitting costs are lower, the housing price is lower. And then it's looking at ways to incentivize diverse housing stock throughout the neighborhoods of the district. Quadplexes, duplexes, student housing.
So you have more
housing.
choices.
Yes.
Very good. Well, Connie, I think he's on it. And I think he's working hard. What else you got for us?
Yeah. So how can someone get information on, possibly, more information about getting one of those homes or getting into a program that provides that?
There you go. Where do they go?
Reach out to my office, District H at HoustonTX.gov, or you can give us a call, 832-393-3003.
832.
Yep.
Go ahead.
393.
393.
3003.
3003. And who's your constituent service person?
Yeah, we can connect you with Ty Keikoa. He's constituent services director, and there are a lot of things out there. Even the general land office will help people rebuild, homes that have been damaged in some storms. We've had them at every town hall I did this year for that same reason, get information to constituents. So we're happy to be the connector to whatever the program is you're looking for, or if you just want sort of the list, we can send you that, but make sure you get the right information. And then I would also encourage y'all to sign up for my newsletter because we put a lot of information into that every other week.
Great.
So again, it's Ty at 832-393-3003. And when's your next town hall?
We actually
have one?
we just had one this past Saturday at Wesley Community Center. We are going to do a virtual town hall.
Mhm.
That information we will share out into the in the newsletter, but that the first 5 were in person. So we want to do one virtually because folks, you know, might not be able to show up in person.
And are you getting good turnout?
Yes,
Oh,
great
good.
turnout from residents and from resources. So a lot of city departments, a lot of nonprofits connecting with communities in their neighborhood. The whole idea is you don't need to go to City Hall to access your local government.
That's right.
You can walk down to Wesley Community Center. You can walk down to Denver Harbor Multi-Service Center and talk to Solid Waste and 311 and Public Works and Parks and get all your questions answered.
Let's go. Let's go.
Awesome.
Miss Connie, thank you for calling in. Do we have another
Thank
caller there?
you.
Or no? Thank you, Miss
Thank
Connie.
you.
Was there another caller in there, Miss Producer, or no? I thought I saw there was another caller. No? Okay, I'm sure one will come in. Are you giving me a thumbs up? There is or there is not? There is. Who's that person?
Hello, this is Jordan.
Jordan, you got me, Gilbert Garcia. A tip from me, talk, inspiration, and prayer with Councilman Mario Castillo of District H. What do you got for us?
Yes, I had a question for the council member.
All right.
Me being Hispanic, it's really nice to see somebody like representing, you know, in a position like that you have as a council member. So I was just wondering if and how are you ensuring that the Latinos community voice is being heard by the decisions you make?
That's a fantastic question. You know, I don't take lightly the fact that there are only 3 Latino voices on city council, 2 district and 1 at large. And so,
and the Latino community is what in the city again? Do you recall? 40?
I want to say it's 43,
40-ish, yeah.
percent.
And so, and the council is 16.
16 members plus the mayor.
So 40% of that would be roughly 6 and change. So there should be 7 if you did the proportional.
There should be.
There you go.
But you know, for me, it's so important to stay engaged in my district and to know what it is that's impacting my neighborhoods and impacting the communities, which is why I do my town halls. Last year, I did 10 right out the gate to go to every part of my district. This year, I did 5. But I also engage in other ways, from resources to putting on resource fairs, to doing site visits to constituents, getting feedback through the newsletter, through social media, doing surveys. I think that's one of the fundamental responsibilities of my role, is to stay engaged and plugged into my community, and then to represent my community on council. So when things come through, like selling land to TxDOT for the 45 project, I pushed for an aerial easement, and I ended up voting against that item because I felt like we should retain ownership of that land to make sure our hike and bike trails are. And now we see some of them are closed because of the projects they're doing and things that are going on there. But I also created a leadership development program to ensure District H had the opportunity to get local government public service experience, because we need more voices from the district.
And is this
in
for
local government.
Citizens that in your district, or these are young people, or who are they?
It's anyone who lives, works, or studies in District H. It's a 6-month paid opportunity. It's called the District H Horizons Internship Program.
Oh, that's great.
And so it was a key priority for me. I launched it last year. We've got 2 interns that started in January. We'll do a call for another round in May. They'll start July 1 through the end of the year. But we need to keep building that pipeline to ensure voices from District H have the opportunity to get the experience, see if this is a career path they want.
Right.
But then get jobs at City Hall, become a chief of staff.
Well, and that's how you became you.
Yes.
Because you were chief of staff for the council person before, right?
Yep.
So that's where you cut your teeth and got to figure out how the city worked. You loved it. And then here you are.
Yes. So while I'm here, I want to give that opportunity to as many as I can. And my goal is to grow this program so that if an engineering student applies, they can spend 6 months in public works. Or if a transportation student, they can go to Metro, which they said they're willing to take somebody, or they go to planning. But that exposure is so key. And it's an opportunity that you can do whatever you want with. You can pursue it. You can say, this isn't for me. But you can make those connections, build those relationships, get that experience, and go from there. But,
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, they have it at the national level. It's called the White House Fellows.
Oh.
It's very prestigious. It's very hard to get into. And you get in, and I think it's 2 years. And you are put in, and you essentially shadow someone very, very high up, one of the cabinet secretaries and so forth in a department. And that's where a lot of key people end up running for office or things of that nature. So I think it's wonderful. Hold that thought. We already have another caller. Who is that? Houston, keep them coming. Keep them coming. Was it a Katie or Carrie? I didn't see that name there, Miss Producer.
Katie?
Katie.
Hello, Katie, are you there? I'm from.
Katie. Katie, can you hear me? Katie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Katie, you got me, Gilbert Castillo, the tip for me with Council Member Mario Castillo of District H. What do you got for us?
Hi. First of all, thanks for, having me on the show. And I had a question for the councilman.
Sure.
I was just wondering, as someone who lives in District H and in the north side specifically, what things are being done to improve the roads? Because we have a lot of issues with potholes, cracked sidewalks.
Yep.
And I just want to know what things are being done or planned potentially for that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's not unique to your district. I just know it. It just seems everywhere I go, it's roads, crack. What do you say to Miss Katie there?
Well, that's a great question because I know a lot of folks have that same question in District H. What are we doing on certain roads? What are we doing in the near north side specifically? Because we give a lot of community engagement from the near north side. So I can tell you that there's a plan to improve Fulton from Hogan to Quitman with a new road, new drainage, and that road is in rough shape. And I know people are asking a lot about it. It's in design. So that is moving, forward in the capital improvement project plan. Quitman Street, all the way from Houston Avenue to Elysian, is getting totally redone. That's happening right now, and it's a partnership with the county, the city, Metro, the management district, and the TERS, and they are redoing Quitman, redoing the drainage. They're adding in wider sidewalks. They're putting in better bus stops, more lighting, some bike facilities. And this is a road that connects the near north side to the Leonel Castillo Center, which is where a hike and bike trail is. Yep. There's 3 schools that touch Quitman: Kettleson, Marshall, and Davis, or Northside High. So you have a lot of pedestrian activity getting to and from those schools. So you're going to get better sidewalks, better lighting. It's going to be a great improvement for the near north side, and that's happening right now.
That's great.
Yep. I will also say, when I did a survey around my council district service budget last year, the top request for improvements was sidewalks and pedestrian crossings. So I'm doing the District H Pathways Initiative this year, which focuses on improving as many of those as possible. So we've asked residents, we've asked neighbors, send us your sidewalks, your intersections you want us to
and then
improve.
you look at them and prioritize them and,
yes.
and get it on.
So we're evaluating a number of them and we'll roll out the entire list, but we're also talking to Metro where we find some of these near Metro facilities and rail. We can have them be a part of this because we want to improve crosswalks, sidewalks, ramps, curves throughout the district because that's the top priority from the residents. So that's also underway. If you have any, feel free to email districth@houstontx.gov. Give us a call, 832-393-3003. You can let us know and we can get those submitted for evaluation and try and put that into this program.
Wonderful. What say you? Was that any other follow-up question you have?
No other questions.
Well,
thanks for answering my question.
Absolutely.
Thank you for calling. So I know we have another caller. Before we go to that caller, and I'll get that name in a moment, let's go back to this fund. There is a fund.
Yes.
It started under Mayor Parker because, of course, everybody knows that I'm friendly with her and I think the world of her. And I sure hope that she runs for county judge. And you heard it here first, Houston. Mayor, run. Anyway, so like that movie, Run, Forrest, Run. But anyways, going back. And so there's the fund that was set aside for district council persons.
Yes. And
I think it's $1 million, right? Okay.
Yep.
What are you doing with your fund?
So we have 2 buckets of that. $500,000 is for Metro projects, which are essentially roads, sidewalks,
so you mean like you
related.
Partner with them to do it? Is that what you mean?
It's called the Metro Fund.
Okay.
But that is for think of public works related projects,
Mhm.
you know, speed cushions, road panel replacements,
Okay.
sidewalks. Then 500,000 is for what is called operational, but that is other city of Houston functions.
Is that
Park
is that for
improvements,
every
library,
council person or
district.
or that's
every
but
district.
every district? So all of you have that same half.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope. And so HPD overtime, fire station anything that's non-public works related,
Mhm.
you can use your operational money for. So my first year in office, I did those 10 town halls right at the gate. I heard from so many neighborhoods about their need for speed cushions. They submitted their
Are
application.
those things that are like the speed bumps?
Yes.
Are
Yeah,
they? But
those
they're
squares.
not. Are they like the armadillo looking things?
No, they're if you think about going down a neighborhood street and you've got those squares that are there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Those are speed cushions.
Okay.
So they submitted their applications. They're dealing with cut through traffic. They're dealing with no sidewalks and they have cars speeding through. So I funded 14 throughout my district speed
Wow.
cushion applications, and then also used a good portion of my dollars for the District H Patrol, which was my public safety initiative.
And who are those? Are those real HPD? Or
Yes.
those like
No, they are.
okay? And they're paid. Are you paying them overtime or something like that?
So the patrol is, you know, traditional overtime is we're going to give HPD a bucket of money and they're going to send some officers out 4 hours overtime shift here
Right.
or there, see what they find out. We're getting from constituents directly, hey, we have a homeless encampment here.
Mhm.
Hey, there's illegal dumping here. Oh, there's this abandoned vehicle here. So then we route it to the proper HPD command and they use the dollars I've allocated to go investigate those things directly. So it's meant to address low-level quality of life issues in a neighborhood that typically take a while for HPD to get to
Right.
because they're focused on the priority items.
Well, let's go through. We have another caller, but I just want to go into this at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was on the campaign trail, the number one issue, whether it was the north side, south side, east, west, no matter where it was, no matter what neighborhood, no matter what ethnic background, socioeconomic, what was crime.
Yep.
Number one.
Yep.
And there seems to be, at least from my own anecdotal research, it's the low-level crimes that are the things that people just hate the most somehow.
Yes, I agree.
mean, because and so many people feel like, oh, they just broke into my car and they took something. They feel like, well, there's no reason to call HPD because it's going to take 5 hours if they even come. There's just this feeling of hopelessness, like it just doesn't matter. Is that true? I mean, that's the feeling I got from people. What are you seeing out there with your constituents? What do they say?
I have a similar sentiment, right? That's
Yep.
why the District H Patrol was my top priority, because the low-level nuisance crime, every neighborhood was impacted by it.
Yep.
And they didn't want to call because the response time was so long. And if you're not an emergency situation, it's going to take a while for HPD
Right.
to. And so this program was set up to address that directly because one, that impacts quality of life. And two, if you don't, those things are going to turn into bigger things. And so this is trying to get that addressed right away before it grows.
If criminals know that they can do crime or, take someone's purse or wallet or something and there's no repercussions, well, they're going to do more.
Yes.
I mean, just
yes.
logic, right? They're going to do more. And that is why it's so important that you take those on. Well, congratulations for doing that. And so let's keep going. We got another caller already, though. Who's that caller? Is there Marina?
Hi, good morning.
Marina.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Is that you?
Yes, this is me. Hi, Gilbert.
How are you? Is this the Marina I know?
Yes, it is.
How are you? What's been going on? And how's your daughter and everything?
No, everything is great. Family is doing well. Everything is great, but I do have some concerns here with traffic here in the area.
Go for it.
I've seen an increase in traffic on Hogan Street.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know. I have my business here on the corner of Hogan and Fulton. And there's just an increase in traffic, especially in the mornings, and then when school is out. So my concern is with the lights, traffic lights, maybe doing like some arrows or something on Hogan and Main Street, Hogan and Fulton Street,
Mm-hmm.
and then on Houston Avenue and Crockett.
So let me.
Those are the big ones that I see.
Let me real quick. Do you mean that you want some protective left turns, or do you mean that they're
Right.
not synchronized?
protective left turns.
I see.
Okay.
Go through those intersections one more time so the councilman can really visualize it.
Hogan and
Hogan
Main.
and Hogan and
Fulton.
Main.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Houston Avenue and Crockett.
Houston and Crockett, Hogan and Main. Did you say Hogan and Fulton?
Hogan and Fulton, there are always accidents. Because I'm right on the corner of Hogan and Fulton.
Are you the
and
car
I see
wash?
these accidents happen. I am. Yes. The detailing.
Let me give you a shout out. If you need your detailing, where do they go? I want to make sure to give you a shout out.
Spot 58 detailing here on the corner of Hogan and Fulton.
Detailing and micheladas, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And tell them you heard it on a tip from Gilbert. There you go, Marina. Really. So let's go back for a second.
Here's what we'll do. We'll put in a request to have the lights examined for left turns. I can tell you Hogan and Fulton and Hogan and Main. I think we've already had Hogan and Crockett looked at last year, and the cost was significant.
For left turns?
Yep. They would need to add a component to the signal and whatnot. And then there would also be some reconfiguration of the lanes there, which at the time we were still going through changes in the transportation policy. So it may be worth looking at it now that that's been all, settled.
So can you look at it for us?
Absolutely.
Marina, there you go. We're going to look at it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What else you got? Anything else?
Well, since I'm on the line.
Come on. You're talking to Houston. Go for it.
Elysian and Hardy Street, the road all down headed toward downtown. Just that it's very, very bumpy. I'm sure the tire shop down the road from me is probably like, why are you complaining? That's my source of business. But I know my customers would also appreciate that because it's just pretty bad there.
If there are some significant potholes, I don't live too far from that road, so I've experienced it quite a bit.
You live it.
I can tell you that the county is going to extend the Hardy Toll Road from 610 to downtown. And part of that project is reconstructing Hardy and Elysian. So those streets are slated to be reconstructed in the next couple of years. So we're not going to see any significant, changes to them at this point. But if there are some big potholes, some big issues, put them into 311, or you can reach out to my office and we can help you on that to patch them over till we get to that reconstruction, because they are going to get totally redid, and you'll get new panels, new concrete panels and everything.
And that's again, Marina, that's 832-393-3003, and ask for Ty.
Yep.
Ask for Ty. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
And wish you nothing but great things.
Thank you. I appreciate you all listening to our concerns.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye.
Awesome. I know we got a couple more minutes. We have another caller or no? Okay, good. I want to get into something now. I'm going to get into on the personal side, which is, when you were growing up, when there was a young Mario, and I know for you that was like, 5 years ago, but for me it was like, 100 years ago.
I just had a birthday.
Yeah, there you go. When there was young Mario and you were, walking the halls in middle school or something, did you ever think, you know what? I think I'm going to run for office.
No.
I mean, where did that come from?
Honestly, I went to A&M for undergrad.
Yep.
And then I went back for grad school.
Okay.
And so my master's is in public health. And I thought I was going to go to law school. So I went to undergrad. I did political science. I thought I'm going to do political science, law school, that whole path. And then I realized I wanted nothing to do with law. I shadowed some lawyers, did the pre-law society. It wasn't for me. So I decided on public health because my mom was in public health. She worked for Harris Health for a number of years, retired from there recently. And I always had good health care as a kid. And, she ended up having breast cancer in her 40s. She went to MD Anderson. They took care of her, but she was able to do that because she had good health care. Yep. And so for me, it was, I've got this political science degree. I don't want to do law school, but I want to help make sure that other folks can have health care. So I studied public health. And then the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, was being implemented when I graduated. Obamacare. Yep. So I went to work at a nonprofit called Enroll America. And I started here in Houston. I was their regional director. And the whole goal was help people sign up for Obamacare. And so that's what I did. And I worked with groups like the health department. I worked with Baker Ripley. We did enrollment events at Moody Park. We did enrollment events at Ripley House.
Is it working, Obamacare?
It is. It is.
Okay.
It's got more people than ever on it.
That's my impression, but keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And the experience, that experience really changed me, because we had folks lined up to sign up for healthcare. They had never had it before. And some of them would enroll and they'd be so happy. I mean, there were a couple of people who'd cry because they were going to go get their first mammogram.
Wow.
Or have their first physical.
Wow.
And that, to me, was a law impacting someone directly and changing their lives in a positive way. And it wasn't just the law was passed, but it was how we helped implement it. We had to bring translators. We had to bring equipment, because some folks didn't have laptops, or they didn't interact, they didn't have emails. We had to have all these things to make sure they could successfully enroll right then and there. Because if they left and they didn't enroll, chances were they weren't going to. But for me, it was, okay, government policy can impact people in a profound way. And that really sparked my interest in public service.
How wonderful. Well, you've always been kind of a community guy. At least my knowing you, and of course I don't go way far back with you, but my knowing you, you've always been a community guy. So it makes perfect sense a year to say, you know what, I'm putting my hat in the ring because I think I can do well.
Yeah.
And how wonderful. Well, we hope you keep running, you keep doing it, because we need good public service.
We absolutely do. Yeah,
we need them. So I'm going to now give you about 2 or 3 minutes here. In just a second, you're going to look in that camera, and I want you to say whatever you want to say. I do want to give a shout out because one of my dear friends, we had a service for her because she passed not too long ago, and that's the bus lady. And if you don't know Janice Scott, the bus lady, she was wonderful. And when I was chairman of Metro, one of the things I did, there was a crack group of about 3 or 4 of them. Hogue, Dominic, also the bus lady. There's one other one. Oh, it's escaping me. And I would meet with them about every 6 weeks. And you want to know why? Because they were writers of the system, and they knew everybody, and they knew everything. And I learned so much from them. So, bus lady, I know you're up there in heaven. I know you're looking down saying, Gilbert, make sure you keep working on that Metro stuff. And you know what? I'm going to make you proud. We're going to keep doing it. And we miss your great laughter. So, Councilman, you have the last word. Look in that camera. Tell Houston and your constituents, of course, mostly, anything you want to tell them.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank everyone that called in today with all their questions. Great conversation, great dialogue. And I just want folks out there to know, District H specifically, my office is here for you. Don't hesitate to reach out with any of your questions if you didn't get to ask one today. If you want to share your thoughts, share your concerns. If you're interested in the District H Horizons internship program, always reach out to my office. It's districth@houstontx.gov if you want to email, or you can call 832-393-3003. To reach us by phone, but we are here. We're accessible. I am willing to come out into the community to host resource fairs if that's something the communities want. Do site visits to go out and see the issues that you're experiencing in your neighborhoods with, the relevant department and resources that are there. Or if you just want to share your thoughts and feedback on what you're dealing with, what's going on the council agenda, you've got some opinions on an item, send them my way. I do read them. I do take all of that into account, and I encourage my district to share their voice and to share their thoughts because I'm out and engaged and I'm listening to you, and I want your feedback. And so the office is here to help and support you. This has been a great experience. So thank you all so much.
There you go. And that other person with Jeff Ragsdale, Jeff, I can't leave you out. So I thank you too. So there we go. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Gilbert there you go. I'm going too fast. This is Gilbert Garcia saying, we'll see you next time. This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia. Listen to my radio show, A Tip from Gilbert. Talk, inspiration, and prayer every Monday from 11 a.m. till noon on Houston's gospel leader, KWWJ. 1360 AM, and streaming live on kwwj.org. Listen on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and streaming live on kyokradio.org. KCOH 1380 AM on Send Geek Radio 95.1 FM 1460 AM and Aliento Radio 101.7 FM and 1540 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.